I'm National Master Wesley Falca, and I'm the inventor of the Drunken Master opening. In this video, I'm going to continue where I left off in the previous video, where I showed you 2 sample games. I'm going to show you 2 more sample games in the Drunken Master opening, so you get an idea, a taste of the kind of games that you get in this opening. The first game that I'm going to show you is against a FIDE Master from Australia named Michael Barron, and I have an interesting statistic against him. I played 12 normal blitz games against him. By normal I mean games where we didn't play the Drunken Master opening, and these are all 3-minute blitz games, and I only won 1 game out of the 12, and I lost 10 and I drew 1 game. Whereas in the 4 games where we played the Drunken Master opening, I won 3, I drew 1, and I didn't lose a single game. So it's a weird result to have, that you win more in the Drunken Master opening than in normal games. I think it just maybe tells something about me as a player, or it tells something about him as a player, I don't know. But that's an interesting statistic. The second game I'm going to show you is against a FIDE Master from Vietnam named Huan. Canh and I have played 5 games in the Drunken Master, and I have a plus score. I've won 3 out of the 5. So I hope you enjoyed these 2 games. This game was played against FIDE Master Michael Barron from Australia. It was played on July the 12th, 2018, and he was white in this game and I was black. So I'm going to show you my moves from the black side here. So the game began c4, e6, knight c3, c6. So I'm just going into my Drunken Master setup with a move order that I often use. So d4, a6 looks all funny and weird, but it's going to transpose soon. e4, d6, knight f3, b6, bishop e2, and rook a7. So that's the standard Drunken setup. Castles, f6, h3, g6. I'm not so sure about this move h3, because later on this g5, g4 can be an easy way to attack the h-pawn. But anyway, h3, g6, bishop e3, and I go rook g7. So now I'm getting ready to play g5, g4, h5, g4, and so on. Queen d2, g5, and he played knight e1. So he doesn't want to, if let's say he allows me to play g4 here, then h takes and rook g4, and then I'm maybe not immediately, but I can open up the g file with this move. So he probably doesn't want me to do that, so he played knight e1. So now he can take with the bishop, plus he's also threatening bishop h5 check. So I played h5, stopping the bishop h5 idea and also threatening g4. Knight d3, and here I could have played g4, but I decided to first play e5 so that I have the additional opening up of the bishop's diagonal on the king side here. There was also an interesting possibility of playing f5 in the position, because now let's say he takes, then I have 3 pawns here lined up against his king, and they're very mobile. They can easily advance. And if let's say he goes something like queen d1, then I can play knight f6, defending the pawn on h5. And if he goes e5, then takes, and the computer is showing a really interesting sacrifice, knight g4 in this position. And let's say it takes, and h takes. Now I'm soon going to play rook h7, double up on the h file. I'll play c5, bishop b7. I have those kind of ideas to open up on the king side. I also have ideas to move this pawn mass here. So this is a very interesting position, and black certainly has compensation for the material that he has sacrificed. So anyway, that's something that could have happened. But I played e5, which is not a bad move. Where's the knights on g8? e5, and he played rook d1. Whoops, queen's on d2. Rook d1. So he's lining up his rook against my queen, so I moved it away with queen c7. And funny enough, he goes rook c1, saying, I insist, I want to line up my rook against your queen. So okay, I go g4, and he doesn't want to open up lines on the king side, so he played h4, so that he keeps this closed. And I decided here to go g3, because I want lines to be opened up. He says, no, I do not allow that. f4, interesting move. And it's a little bit double-edged, because now this h-pawn is a little lonely and alone here. Let's say my queen were somehow on d8, and this pawn wasn't here, then queen takes h4, and queen h2 made ideas. But okay, it's not immediately possible in the position. But that's the kind of danger that you expose yourself to when you allow this. But f4 is not a bad move. It's a good move. The computer agrees that there's nothing wrong with f4. He wants to keep his lines closed. He also wants to open up the f file for his rook. So f4, and I decided to play bishop g4 here. The idea was to maybe trade these bishops. So let's say he takes, which is not a good move. Then I can take with the rook, and then I gang up on this h4, or rather I just take h4. So, and this, at least I have some play over here. So that was the idea with bishop g4. He played f takes e5, so he's opening up lines for his rook, so it's a very good move. F takes, I took, now he's opening more lines with d takes e5. So he reasons that he has better development, so opening of lines should favor him, and he's right. So f takes e5. And now if he had only followed that up with knight d5, an interesting positional sacrifice, then he would have clearly had the advantage in the position. So let's say c takes d, c takes, attacking my queen. So queen has to move, and let's say queen d8. Then he could have gone knight takes e5, and he's won 2 pawns in the center, but all of his pieces are extremely active. His rooks are on open files, his bishops are well placed. These 2 pawns are really menacing. The knight on e5 is well placed. So this would have been a winning position for him, strategically winning position, but he didn't see this. Instead, okay, now I'm going to have a difficult time reconstructing my position. Where was it? e6. He took here, so this shouldn't be here. Queen should be here. Yes, and here he played bishop g5 instead. Am I missing something? Yes, I'm missing the knight on d3. So instead of knight d5, he played bishop g5. Still not bad. It's an okay move. And I played knight d7, bringing out my knight and defending e5. And he took this bishop. H takes. His idea was that he was going to go queen e2, which he did, and grab this pawn. And I don't really have a good way of defending this pawn on g4. But as it turned out, this was actually a really bad move. Or rather, this whole bishop takes, h takes, and queen e2 idea, because the computer is showing that black had this fantastic move, rook takes g5 in the position, which I missed, but that was the winning move. Because now if f takes g, h takes g5, then knight d to f6. Incredible. But now you see the point that this rook's lined up to sacrifice itself on h1. So let's say he goes g takes, right? Rook h1 check, king takes, queen h7 check, king g1, queen h2 checkmate. That would have been a special mate, but I failed to see it, and he didn't see it either. It's a 3-minute blitz game, so it's not easy to see these kind of tactics. But that was quite a beautiful mate that I would have had in this position. But anyway, I missed it. So Queen E2, Rooks on G7 and H8, Knights on D7, and the Bishops on G5. So I did not take on G5. What I played here was Knight C5, so that I trade this guy off. And once I trade that guy, my bishop's going to land on C5, give a check, which is going to be extremely dangerous for him. So he played what was perhaps the best move in the game. He played Rook takes F8, positional exchange sacrifice, because he understood that that dark squared bishop is really dangerous for his position. So I took. Now he took on C5. I took back. And now he takes on G4. And pretty much he's saying, look, I've got the better position here. Because all of my pieces are well placed. I'm going to soon grab this extra pawn. I'm going to have a piece and 2 pawns for your rook. And I have an active knight, rook, queen, and a bishop. And you only got a rook active. So white's better here. But he's not immediately winning. Queen D7, offering a trade of queens, which he did not accept. Check. King moves away to E8, I believe. Yep. And queen takes G3. Check on D4, King H1. And I played Knight H6. So finally I'm getting my pieces out. And unfortunately here I ran into Rook D1, and now I realize, oops, I cannot move my queen, because if I move my queen, let's say I take queen takes C4, then Rook D8 check and wins the rook. But what's worse is he can play queen takes E5 check, and then he can actually force checkmate in the position. So I can't move my queen, so my queen is going to be lost. But fortunately enough for me, the position still has a lot of resources. So I played Knight F7. And it's not over yet. So Rook takes D4, winning the queen. But C takes D, attacking the knight. And now he has a choice. Can he save his knight or can he save his bishop? Because let's say he saves his knight, then I take Rook takes G5. And he cannot take, because the H pawn's pinned to the king. And he thought for about 15 seconds here, and he made the wrong decision. He played Knight E2, saving the knight. He should have played King G1, saving the bishop instead. And in this line, the computer shows that he would have had the much better exchange of pieces. So anyway, he played Knight E2, and I took on G5, and I think that he probably panicked here. He was low on time, and he, instead of defending this H pawn, he played Queen F3, allowing me to take that pawn for free, which I took. Rook takes H4 check, King G1, and Rook G4, and suddenly I'm back in the game, and I'm on the attack, and I'm threatening to take on G2 right now. So he played G3, and I played Knight D6, and you see that E4 is falling, and he can't really move his knight because Rook takes pawn with check, winning the queen. So he's really running out of moves here. So C5, but I just take, and then he went Queen B3, and now I could have finished the game with Rook takes G3, because if Knight takes, then Rook takes G3 with check, protected by the queen. So I'm just winning his queen, and I have an extra knight to win the endgame. But I missed that, because I was also short on time. I played Knight takes G3, which is still good, but I think that in this particular position, the computer can force a perpetual check, but he's a human being, and he was not able to. So he played Queen E6 check, King F8, Queen C8 check, King F7, Queen C7 check, King G6, Queen takes C6 check, King F5, Queen F3. I'm trying desperately to avoid the perpetual check. King G6, queen c6 check, king h7, queen d7 check, rook g7, and finally there's no more check in the position. Because if queen f5, then simply knight takes f5. And now I'm threatening not just the queen, but I'm threatening knight takes e2 with check. And he resigned this game. So this was quite an interesting win for me in the Drunken Master. This next game that I'm going to show you was played against FIDE Master Canh Huan on the 25th of November 2018. He was black and I played white, so I started with b3, knight f6, e3, g6, c3, bishop g7. As you can see, I'm getting into my drunken setup. d3, castles, oops, a3, d5, rook a2. Now he went c5, f3, knight c6, g3, e5, all very logical moves from black. Rook g2, a5. So he's starting immediately some aggressive activity on the queen side here. And in this game I thought, okay, I'd block this activity with a4, because otherwise he's threatening to go a4 himself at some point. There's been games where I have ignored black's activity on the queen side and I've just played h4, h5 and gone for kingside play. So anyway, in this game I tried a4 and he responded pretty well actually to this, and he played d4, and after c takes, he has created a nice weakness for him to attack on b3. I have to close the center because my pieces are not developed, so I play e4 and he goes bishop e6. So immediately he is pointing to the weak pawn on b3. So far pretty good from black. I decided that the way to defend this pawn is to block this attack by putting a knight on c4. So I played knight a3 with the idea of jumping to c4, and he played knight d7 and I went knight c4. So I blocked the attack, but he went knight c5 here, saying, all right, you can block my attack, but I still got another attack on the weak pawn. So I played bishop a3, attacking the knight that's attacking the pawn on b3, and he blocked that with knight b4, so he still got his attack on b3. So black's position here is definitely more preferable, and I think that white's opening is, well, it's kind of pretty much refuted at this point, because it's pretty obvious that the Drunken Master is a dubious opening, and there's games where you will get into positions where your opponent handles the opening really well and then you got an inferior position. So this is what happened in this game, and I've got an inferior position, but it's a blitz game and there's no how do we say, it's not easy to win even if you got a superior position, because the nature of the position is such that it's not a normal chess position that you see in an everyday game. So all of the chess knowledge that you have doesn't necessarily help you navigate this new type of position. So, and even really strong players go wrong there. So anyway, I play h4 and he decided to open up more lines on the queen side with d5. Now instead, the computer is showing that the correct or the better way for black to play this position was to take on c4, b takes, and then play queen d7. and attack this pawn on a4, and that pawn is going to fall. And after knight takes a4, maybe knight comes to c3, and it's going to be a better position for black. So that was the more accurate way of playing this from black's perspective. But he didn't play it that way. He instead played b5, trying to open up lines on the queen side, and I took. And then he played queen b8, attacking the pawn on b5. So I thought, alright, if he's going to take this pawn, might as well win his strong bishop with it. So I played b6, saying that, alright, if you want to take the pawn, you have to take my knight. And if you take my knight, which you did, then I get rid of my weak pawn on b3, b takes c4. So both sides gain something from this exchange. Queen takes b6. Black's got the open b file. Black's got a pass pawn on the a file. And white got rid of his weak pawn on b3. So he can now start playing on the king side. But as it turns out, this is not fast enough for white. And if black had played a little more accurately, he could have won the game. But he didn't. He didn't find the correct way to play the position. So h5. And he played rook b8, which is alright. It's placing the rook on an open file. Eventually this knight's maybe going to come out to a6, the queen's going to enter, and then black's play is going to be easier. But the computer is showing that a better way to play the position was to play f5. And unlike the first game that I showed you with Keith Arkell, this position is different. And here actually f5 is not a dangerous move at all, because the diagonal to the king is firmly blockaded by the pawn on c4. And now the f file is opening up for this rook. So black not only has the open b file, but it's also going to have the open f file. And white's attack is not really going anywhere. If f takes, then simply queen takes, and then there's not any easy play for white in this position. So anyway, he played rook b8, and I played rook g to h2, and he played rook f to d8. I'm not sure what his intention was, but okay, that's the move, and he made it. And I took on g6, he took back, and now I thought, alright, if I can get my queen over here, it's going to be really, really nice for me. And I thought I had firmly protected all of this center over here, so I played f4, making room for my queen to move out. And here he could have played a really brilliant move. He could have taken on e4 with the knight. And if d takes e4, then d3. And now black is winning, because not only is there queen e3 check in the position, there's knight c2 check. This pawn on d2 is extremely strong. There's no time for white to pursue any kingside attack. The bishop guards the king very securely, and after a move like e takes f4, even the bishop could be coming in to c3 with a check, and this is just lost for white. So that would have easily won the game for him, but he missed the chance. And after f4, he took on f4, which is not a bad move. I took back, so obviously I haven't seen the knight takes pawn idea. And here again, it's not, if you don't see the knight takes pawn idea, it's really hard to find moves for black. Maybe you will go knight back to a6, thinking you're gonna go queen b1. In this game, he played queen c7, and he blew his chance to win. and I immediately played e5. So now he doesn't have any knight takes e4 idea because the e-pawn's moved. And I blocked the attack of his queen on my f4 pawn. And now I'm getting ready to move my pieces out really fast. He played knight e6, which was not a good move. Queen g4. Now he came further back with knight c6, so he fails to see the danger to his own position. Because now what he's done with knight b4 is he simply opened up this bishop on the f8 square. And after I play a move like queen h4, which I did, I'm threatening queen h7 checkmate, because the bishop's now guarding the square that the king was going to escape to. So he saw that and he went back to b4. And I here decided, okay, queen h7, king f8, there's nothing, so I played knight f3. And he played queen c6, attacking the knight. And then suddenly it dawned on me, oh my god, queen h8 check. And that's just going to lead to checkmate. So he resigned. Because if bishop takes queen, then rook takes bishop, check. King goes to g7, and rook to h7, mate. So you see that just in a course of maybe 2 or 3 moves, his position changed from winning to completely busted. And that's one of the interesting things in the Drunken Master, that it's kind of like dancing on ice. You could be dancing really well, and then one moment you slip and suddenly it's all over. So it's usually the player who plays the Drunken Master opening that has to manage the dance, but if his opponent's not careful, then his position can collapse pretty well, pretty soon. So I hope you found this game pretty entertaining. So I hope you enjoyed these 2 games that I showed you in this video. As you can see, they were very complicated fighting games, and that's the nature of the opening. That's the kind of positions that result from this opening. And as you have seen, it's not always the case that you get a winning position. It's often the case that in the Drunken Master you're dealing with a slightly inferior position, maybe even not just a slightly, just a plainly objectively inferior position from the opening sometimes. But it's a blitz game, and it's not always easy, even for really strong players like FIDE Masters, to refute all of these setups that they're unaware of, because it's a new opening, and it results in positions that are not commonly known and seen in the chess world. So it gives you an opportunity to be more creative and have some fun. And if you play these against computers, I'm sure you'll always lose, but against human beings it's not the case. And that's where it's entertaining. I hope you enjoyed these games, and I look forward to showing you some more entertaining games in the coming videos.